SMQBs, this is episode 116. We are still going strong here. This is going to be a great episode. We have a special guest. I'm going to let Rooster introduce him in a second. But before we do that, obviously, we're going to have a lot of talk about the great Jim Brown today. And I think it's almost cliche at this point to talk about his lacrosse career because everybody sort of mentioned that. But I did want to just give a couple of quick highlights on his lacrosse career, even though he's a Syracuse guy. That's very hard for me to deal with. But I mean, he was a two-time All-American, 56 and 57 at Syracuse. As a senior in 57, he scored 64 points and was ranked second in the nation with 43 goals. I don't know. Not everybody here follows lacrosse. That's a lot of goals in a season. I mean,
he was probably the best lacrosse player in the country at that time.
Yeah, if not maybe the greatest ever still.
Yeah.
So and even if you said he was just the greatest to come out of Syracuse, that would be saying something.
Right.
But probably the greatest ever. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out there to start with.
He also lettered in basketball at the same time while he was at Syracuse.
Yeah, I mean, just unbelievable. Rooster, why don't you?
I thought he was a star of the Dirty Dozen. I didn't realize he played football.
Yeah,
I love that movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Rooster, why don't you take it away from here and we'll jump into some great conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, yeah, we're really happy to have a great friend of the show with us again tonight, Jerry Bembry, who's a senior writer at Anscape, which kind of traces its history back to ESPN, the magazine, and the Undefeated, or at least Jerry does. And he also knows way more about the NBA than 3 or 4 of us hacks. So we're going to cover a little NBA with Jerry. But first, we really just are excited to kick it off with some discussion about Jim Brown. I mean, we all know that Jim Brown is the greatest football player ever. We're not going to spend any time on that. That's been covered by everybody under the sun. Like Bison said, he was probably also the greatest lacrosse player ever. Just the best all-around athlete I could ever think of during my lifetime, except for maybe Bo Jackson. But what I'd really like to talk about with Jerry, because I know you've covered this a little bit, and I'm wondering if you had the good fortune to ever meet Jim Brown, but we'd like to talk about his impact on civil rights in this country.
Yeah, I never met him. And, I just want to go back. You guys mentioned lacrosse. Can you imagine a guy as big and strong as Jim Brown?
Yeah.
You got two on the lacrosse field. I mean, it's unbelievable. But,
yeah.
Brian has that picture of the Ali Summit that, Jim Brown was an organizer on. You have some of the greatest athletes in the world and a couple of politicians, but, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, then Lou Alcindor. And
look how young he looks. He's got this baby face.
Exactly. And and I'm sure he was in awe I've read some stuff where he was in awe just to be invited to that moment at such a young age. But, Muhammad Ali had taken a stand about not going to war. And, he was very outspoken and he was penalized and, he lost his titles, threatened with jail. And Jim Brown organized a summit to stand with him and to speak up for him. And, he was one of the guys that was a true activist in sports. And he continued that for the rest of his life. And yeah, he was a great individual, great football player, 8 rushing titles in 9 years in the NFL, which is just amazing. Went on to become a Hollywood actor. And one of the reasons why he stepped away from football was because he was going to miss part of training camp while he was doing his movie role. And the owner said, well, you have to be here. Jim Brown called up and said, I quit. And he didn't come back. So
he was the MVP of the league the year before.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Just unbelievable.
It's like the ultimate, call your bluff move, right?
Yeah,
totally. Literally.
I quit.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the Cleveland Browns. I mean, they got the greatest player, the NFL's all-time rushing leader, and he decides to walk away. I'm sure that hurt them at the turnstile, but that was a man who was not unafraid to speak up, to stand up for his principles, and he should be admired for that.
Pope, your photo brings back memories. I've told you guys about growing up with my mother, who was maybe the weirdest history teacher in the world, and decorated my bedroom, and whatever history course she was teaching that year. It could be African studies, it could be women's studies, but all of a sudden my bedroom became decorated with photographs of her topics, and I would intersperse some baseball and basketball posters among it. But that was one of them. And then she talked at an early age about the Cleveland Summit because she didn't like sports at all, and she knew I loved it. So that was her way of sort of getting me to think about the world by talking about prominent athletes who played a role in the civil rights movement. And this was one of my earliest memories of these guys. And the sad thing is, Jerry, I can't think of another instance since then. This was 1967, where any athlete stood up and took a political stand like that for another athlete.
Well, you had our Olympians in 1968 Olympics.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that was definitely for the cause, but not for another athlete.
And you got these athletes from all sports standing up there too. So, I mean, it's just commendable. And, Bill Russell, who we just recently lost as well in his own right, was a great activist and really spoke up about things that were affecting Black people in the country. So you see athletes make those stands today, but you don't see athletes put themselves at risk as much as these guys did back then.
Yeah.
Athletes who do it today have guaranteed contracts that they can fall back on, and they were giving up their livelihood. Their livelihood was threatened by doing that. So it's really commendable what they did.
Well, we hear you that you've got a really fun event to go to with your daughter tonight, an ESPN event. So we're going to try to speed this up so you can get out. Let's go from sad to mad and talk about your article recently called "Who Does Ja Morant Want to Be?" We all read it. It was a great article. I commend it to all of our listeners. It's on anscape.com. And, you seem to be advocating for a 1-year suspension for Ja. Tell us about that.
I think he needs a significant suspension, just because right before the most recent incident with a gun, 2 months before, Ja Morant sat on a TV program and apologized for his actions and said it wasn't him, and said it wasn't his gun. And, he said everything that you need to say to dodge major punishment. And for him to come back 2 months after that interview with Jalen Rose and to do it again, and this has nothing to do with Second Amendment gun rights, because that's the Second Amendment. You're allowed to have guns, but he has guns in public places. He had a gun in a strip club the first time. He's got a gun in a car the second time, and so much can go wrong. And Charles Barkley once famously said, "I am not a role model," but athletes are role models, and people do mimic what they do. And if Ja Morant is in a club, if Ja Morant is in a car, pulling a gun, holding it carelessly, then kids are going to do the same thing as well. And we have enough of a problem with gun violence and deaths, especially among the African-American community, for kids to say this is okay. And so I think that Ja Morant the first time went into, they said he went into a facility in Florida, and maybe it lasted 8 days, 10 days, whatever. But I think he needs a bigger punishment to think about what he did, the impact on other people that he has. And I think a year without pay, maybe it's a half a season without pay, either one of those I think would be significant and make him realize that, the NBA can discard me at any time. There's another guy who's coming up behind me who can fit my role. And I need to check myself and really figure things out and do the right thing. And so I hope he does, because I like him as a ball player. I think he's exciting. He makes Memphis a winner. He gives that team its backbone. But you're only as good as your best player. And if your best player is immature, then that means your whole franchise is going to be immature. They're going to follow the leader. The players are going to say, well, if Ja can get away with this, then why can't I get away with this? So I think for the Memphis Grizzlies franchise, I think it's important for them to help him get right and make sure that he gets the help he needs to come back and be the player that we all think he is.
You mentioned in your article that he's bordering on or in Antonio Brown territory here with his behavior. And
Gosh.
it's always kind
Don't
of
want to be there.
funny to say Antonio Brown is batshit crazy, but I actually think he has some mental health problems and needs some help. And it's kind of sad. It's something more than just being immature here going on with Ja Morant. What is he doing?
Yeah, it could be the circle that you run with. And it's funny, I was on a panel this past weekend with Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, and he was saying that, if you're, and he wasn't speaking about job, he just made this example. He said if you're not physically fit, you should hang around physically fit people to inspire you. If you lack intelligence in a certain topic, you should hang around those people to inspire you, because that that gets you to that level or make you want to be at that level. And I think Ja needs to be around better people in his life, and maybe Ja's that bad influence on the other guys. I don't know what it is, because the guy, his friend, took the Instagram live video. And no one told Ja. Ja knew exactly where he was at. And, his instinct was to pull a gun. So was that the friend being a bad influence because he was on Instagram Live? Or was that Ja just doing something really not too smart for pulling a gun, knowing he's on Instagram Live, knowing he was on Instagram Live last time? So
Jerry, who are the grownups in the room that need to step up and take control of Ja's future?
Yeah, I think that perhaps the Memphis Grizzlies are in a situation where they should sign a veteran guy. Miami Heat has Udonis Haslem, their team, as a veteran guy. He doesn't play, but I'm sure he's a positive influence based on his career and the people he was around in winning championships before. He used to be the backbone of that team. Yeah. And maybe the Grizzlies don't have that guy. Maybe they need that veteran guy to really be a positive influence, because obviously the people in Ja Morant aren't being that right now.
Well, he's not getting it from his dad. We know that.
Even beyond that, though, because Pope, you hit on something that I wanted to ask you about. I think it was a good question, Pope, and even beyond a veteran player on the team, who are really the sort of icons now that these young guys will listen to? I mean, I made a joke about Jim Brown being a Syracuse guy and gave away that I'm a Georgetown guy. And I was there when Iverson came to Georgetown, and John Thompson was a guy who Iverson, ended up idolizing and credited with everything good that happened in his life at the end of the day. Now, you mentioned that we lost Bill Russell, we've lost Jim Brown. Who are the people now that these guys in the league who have so much, and they're, we talk about the player empowerment movement, which is great in a lot of ways. But, I think this is something, even in our law practices, we see that young people, they don't necessarily want advice from the older people. They think they're ready to take on the world, and there's pros and cons of that. Are there leaders in the professional athlete world that some of these superstars who have so much so fast will listen to?
I'm not saying that all coaches have the best influence on players, but Taylor Jenkins, I don't know what kind of coach he is in the locker room. I don't know if he has a full grasp of that Grizzlies team. But we are in a situation today where the players make tens of millions of dollars, and the coach may make 5 or 6. So does the coach really have power in that situation? And so I don't know if Taylor Jenkins has that power to really make a stand with Ja. And that's why I say maybe a veteran player, because maybe it's somebody who's in the trenches with you. Maybe it's a veteran, maybe it's an assistant coach who's been through it and who can have that influence. But it's got to be someone around him on a day-to-day basis to really be unafraid to say, you know what, this isn't right, and your career is in jeopardy. Maybe it's a former player like, I hate to say this name, but Gilbert Arenas, and maybe he's not the best, but a guy who is
speaking of losing a lot of money because of guns.
Right, a guy who had some issues during his career and kind of lost it. He was, by 31, he was playing in China. And a lot, part of that was with the gun incident, part of that was with injuries, but, Gilbert should have had a longer career, because he was as talented a guard as we've seen in basketball. but he made some poor decisions off the court. I didn't mention this in my article, and I wish I did. I think about Aaron Hernandez and how this guy, during the course of his life at the University of Florida, got a pass. And, when he got to the NFL, people overlooked certain things in his life. And then we see how that story ended up. And you just hate to see Ja Morant end up that way, because the talent is so good. And this guy he can have a Hall of Fame career if he just plays his cards right. He can, by the end of his career, make $750 million, maybe, because his last deal was $197 million. He blew a $39 million bonus. That's 5 years. And you figure 5 years from now, he can get another deal and maybe another deal. This is generational beyond generational wealth that's at stake with this guy. And for him to pull a gun and potentially put that at risk is just mind-boggling to me. I just don't understand. I really don't. And my daughter, if my daughter was doing stuff like that, I would pull up and say, listen, you got to get this right. I can't tell you how to run your life, but I'm going to tell you what you maybe should be doing. I never want to tell her what to do, but I want to put some alternatives out there, some suggestions out there. And someone needs to do that with Ja. His dad seems to be a guy who wants to be in the spotlight a lot. So maybe he is not the right guy. Obviously, his friends, if you look on the Instagram page, their life revolves around Ja Morant. It's all Ja on their Instagram page. It's not them, it's Ja and them, right? So Ja needs to surround himself with 5 good people in his life who are really going to set him straight and be an inspiration to him and just be positive for him.
And like you said, I think he needs time to think. I mean, if he doesn't get punished severely for his last action, then he's going to get the wrong lesson from it.
Yeah, if you give him another week, right? If you give him 8 days and he can just sit out and come back and like nothing happened, that's not going to do it.
Right.
It's got to be the significant amount of time. And that's, time, money lost, not being in the spotlight, not helping your team. I think all that would have an impact on, him maybe turning the corner.
I mean, you wonder about a coach like Popovich, somebody like Pop, potentially.
Spo's doing it well these days.
Spo, but man, Pop is the godfather. I mean, if anybody's going to have an influence, it'd be somebody like him, maybe.
Yeah, Pop and Spo, because he's an extension of Pat Riley. Pat Riley is still around that organization, and he's one of the most respected guys. All the big time stars who came and played for Miami, they had to respect what Pat Riley did during the course of his career, and Riley has a big influence on that, on what the people on that team do. And again, I don't know what the Memphis Grizzlies have in terms of in their coaching staff and their organization that can be that guy.
Well, just real quick, Milk, before Milk, but I mean that goes back to my guy Iverson too, who I'm obsessed with. But he went from Thompson to Larry Brown, right? And Larry Brown, that fit for some reason. They fought, right? But when he's given his Hall of Fame induction speech, that was another father figure to him, and all his success again he would give to Larry Brown too. So sorry, Milk.
No, I mean, I think you're hitting a great point, Jerry, because we live in this culture now of success, winning, immediate success and winning. So is the Grizzlies coach incentivized to suspend him, to lose the best player? What about the Grizzlies ownership and all of the money that is involved in these sports now? So, and even all the way up to the NBA leadership. So how do we help these guys when he doesn't have a good circle of influence, he doesn't have family, friends. And then on the other side, this culture of winning is basically saying, I don't want to suspend this guy for a year. I'm going to keep letting him get away with these.
It's got to be the commissioner.
Yeah, it's got to be commissioner stepping in for this one. And, Adam Silver's interview during the playoffs, speaking about this, you can see how hurt he was because he thought Ja was being sincere. And even though it would hurt the Grizzlies, say you suspend him for half a year, it hurts him for half a year. But hopefully you get Ja back for 10 more years.
Right.
If you let him walk this path right now, then you might lose him forever. And I'd rather have 10 years of Ja Morant being a great player than losing him forever.
Yeah. That's a great
Yeah.
point.
By the way, Adam Silver seems like a good guy who cares about not just the dollars, not just the league, but about the players. I don't know. Maybe that's naive.
Are you
I-
contrasting him with Goodell?
Well, I was about to. Yeah, I was. I might have been going there, but I mean, even without bringing up Goodell, he strikes me as someone, like you said, that he felt you could hear the hurt, and I actually do believe. And I don't know him. Like I said, this could be naive or just stupid, but I mean, I get that from him, that there's a sort of warmth to him, that he cares about these players, and so hopefully he'll do the right thing for the player too.
Yeah, I think Adam does care about the player. I think that Ja is lucky that David Stern is a commissioner, because I think David probably would have been more heavy-handed in his punishment. So yeah, Adam cares, but even as you care, you've been burned in a situation, and
Right.
The penalty has to be severe enough to make this player think. And I think I said a year in my article. I think a half year would send the point home.
All right, for our younger listeners, we're going to move on from the boomer portion of the program where we're telling you all how to live your lives and talk about the NBA playoffs. Who here thinks that either the Lakers or the Celtics have a chance of coming back like the 2004 Red Sox? Anyone?
Nope. Nobody.
Nope.
Done.
Nope.
I want to hear Jerry's commentary on what does he think happened in Boston, because I look at that as much more severe than the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers weren't even supposed to be there, but Boston, boy, their body language last night was awful.
Yeah, I'm looking at the teams that are having success this year. So you look at Miami, and offensively, it's constant ball movement, right? They're always in motion, and they're leading the Boston defenders to be off balance. You look at Denver, a lot of guys touch the ball. Joker is such a great passer, constant ball movement. It gets the Lakers off balance. And the Boston Celtics are a one-on-one team. It's almost like my New York Knicks. They were the
Yes,
same way.
exactly.
They're a
I've been
one-on-one
yelling about this for weeks now, Jerry. I love Brunson, but my God, he thinks he's him against 4 or 5 guys.
Exactly. So it's isolation ball. And so, it's Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown running ISO plays. They're not moving the ball offensively as well. And they're taking these one-on-one moves. And the Boston Celtics, the announcers touched on it. They cried so much last night. It's like complaining on every play. I picked against Miami in every series this year. I bet Miami fans, ESPN has a list of experts to pick stuff. And every series, even from the play-in, I picked against Miami. So Miami fans probably think that I don't know anything about basketball.
They want you to keep picking against them.
Right. And they're probably right. And when it comes to when it comes to Miami Heat, because I never thought once Tyler Hero went down, when Oladipo had his injury, that it was Jimmy Butler and a bunch of other guys, 7 undrafted players, and they're in the position they're in today. But it's a reflection on Spoelstra, allowing those guys to play, allowing those guys to make mistakes, not being heavy-handed, just encouraging them. And he hasn't won a Coach of the Year award, but I think he's the best coach in basketball. To get this out of this group of guys is just unbelievable. And Jimmy Butler, he's not a high flyer, he's not fancy, all that stuff, but that guy gets the job done. I really appreciate Jimmy Butler's the way he plays the game, and I think everybody feeds off of him. And that's an unbelievable team. Now, if it's Denver and Boston in the final, Denver and Miami in the final, I'm still picking Denver. I'm not gonna, I can't pick Miami, but yeah, they what they've done has been incredible, absolutely incredible.
I mean, Kenny said last night on TNT that it looked like Boston was playing like it was the 4th game of a series they were down 3-0. It was incredible.
I don't know how you explain that, and I think it's frustration. I mean, I used to play ball, and you getting your butt kicked up and down the court, and you just lose your will sometimes. And you hate to see that in the Eastern Conference Finals. You hate to see that from a time that reached the NBA Finals last year, but that's what Boston did, and it's they've had a lot of change. Coaching situation from a year ago to today, and I just don't know if they can move forward with this team. I don't know if Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum can coexist. I thought they could going into the playoffs this year, but now watching this, I don't know. And I'll say this too about
what about Ime and Doka though? Do you think there's a different outcome with him as head coach all year?
I think with the success that they had a year ago, perhaps. But it's when you get to the playoffs, it's completely different. So you can play during the regular season. You're playing Atlanta this night. You got the Wizards this night, the Lakers this night. And you as a player can be effective because they don't have enough time to game plan you, right? So it's only like maybe a day off and maybe that team is on a back-to-back. And so it's not, they see the tape, they know what you can do. But in a 7-game series, when you know who you're playing and you can come up with a game plan to stymie someone, that's what Miami has done to Boston.
Yeah.
And Boston's coaching staff hasn't been able to figure it out. And that's what makes Miami such a great team is because
they know that Jaylen Brown can't dribble in traffic and nobody's moving around for him to pass it to. So that's a pretty simple coaching decision. Whereas Boston's coach has never heard of a double team, I guess.
Would have been interesting if at the beginning of the season, Boston could have convinced one Brad Stevens to come out of the front office and back down to the bench, right? That it might be a little bit of a different situation, but
it could be a different. Yeah. It could be a difference. I don't know what's wrong with that team because if you look at the makeup of the team, you think, okay, this is solid. But I would love to see, just like with the Knicks, more ball movement. ISO ball just kills me. In three-point basketball, it's funny. I was taking a walk in Brooklyn today, and I walked by this playground. I'm watching these kids shoot, and there's a guy out there. He's just launching 1 3 after another 3 after another 3. He's got like 20 shots, and he missed them all. And I'm like, but this is what it's
like LeBron.
Right, yeah. Right. So you watch basketball today and you see all these guys just launching 3-point shots at will. I see guys drive the lane today and have a layup and kick it out for a 3. I'm taking the sure 2 as opposed to going for the 3. And
right,
it's a 3-point shooting league right now. I think the analytics has really screwed it up. That's why I want Denver to win, because they have a big man who goes inside or out and they can pound you in the middle and they can get points in the paint. And I just want to see it go back to that style, just a versatile style of basketball, as opposed to everybody launching 3s thinking they're a shooter.
Are you surprised at all the Lakers haven't been more competitive?
No, LeBron's 38 years old.
Yeah.
They had a lot of change during the course of the season. They bring in D'Angelo Russell late. I mean, it's a lot of Rui Hachimura comes in and he's played well, but it's so much change during the course of a year that you really need that continuity to figure it out. And Miami's had to change over with the injuries, but they have a system that works. And if this was LeBron at 24, I think it would be different. But LeBron at 38, I don't think he can carry it. He's not a defender that he was. He still gets a highlight block, but he's not the guy that's going to just buckle down and get in you defensively for the entire basketball game. And I think that team has some flaws, and I think it's showing right now.
I heard Bill Simmons throw out the Embiid for Anthony Davis straight up trade as a possibility.
Hey,
he's also got Embiid going to the Knicks.
Yeah. Anyway,
I tell you,
our counterpart.
Yeah.
We'll see what GM LeBron comes up with, because he's pulled
right.
That's right. Out there.
That's
you got Anthony Davis there, and I mean they gave up some talented players for Anthony Davis, and for as great as he can be, he's injury prone in big situations. He's been inconsistent, and from on paper he looks really good, but when it comes down to it, he just hasn't shown it on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
All right, so I think your 30 minutes is about up. Our last thing on the NBA is Melo retired. Sure thing, first round Hall of Famer, don't you think?
He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Had a great career.
Another Syracuse guy.
Yeah,
you guys are killing me,
baby.
Yeah, I was there during that rise that they played the first round game in Albany that year. I covered it for ESPN.com. Great player. When he came to New York, it didn't fit well with me because they gave up so much for him. So I think I held that against him.
Yeah, me too.
Being a Knicks fan, not as
because they could have just waited and gotten him as a free agent. They didn't
exactly
make that trade.
Been patient and waited. They could have kept that nucleus that they had and maybe the outcome for the Knicks in the future years would have been greater. But they went and they gutted the team to get him. And as a Knick fan, I was unhappy with what happened. As a basketball journalist, Melo was a great player. It just didn't do right by my Knicks.
All right, my friend. Thank you again for joining us. It's always great to see you.
Yeah,
no problem,
Thank you so much.
Have fun tonight.
Great
I
seeing you
enjoyed
guys.
it. Yeah, I'm just gonna stand in the background, let my daughter do her thing, and
Yeah, I know you're not.
maybe she can introduce me to some people.
Thank you so
Jerry.
much for your time. We
All
appreciate
right,
it.
guys.
Awesome.
take it
Thank you
easy.
so much.
See you next
All right,
time.
bye.
All righty.
Great stuff.
Yeah,
He's
Thanks,
great.
Rooster.
he's a great guy.
Yeah, he is. So I just to follow up on the one thing he was saying there about the Celtics and that team, if that core can go together, like you wonder, they're not going to get rid of Tatum, right? I mean, Tatum's the guy, but Brown, right? I mean, Brown is he a free agent now, or he's coming up on it?
He's coming. I think I can't remember if he is or is about to be, but there's a good chance he's gone.
Yeah, because he's going to be $190, $200 million contract guy.
You can't pay each of them $50 million for these results.
Right. That's right. So, and the guy who's always on the trade list and everybody wants to talk about, but I wonder if Bradley Beal would be a good fit with Tatum.
Interesting.
Just something,
I threw it out there. Can either one of these teams be the 2004 Red Sox, who came back after being down 0-3 to my Yankees and then won 4 straight?
Yeah.
And I think Jimmy Butler answered the question for us when he asked, how is his team doing what they're doing? And he said, because we have a bunch of dogs on this team. The Celtics don't have any dogs on their team.
Yeah.
They're soft.
I mean,
they're just too
same
soft.
as the Sixers.
Yeah.
Same as the Sixers.
I mean, literally, Gabe Vincent, we had him for 29 points in game 3. Anybody have that on their bingo card?
Right.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Every night there's somebody new.
And by the way, the Heat at the end of the second quarter there, maybe it was the third quarter, but they missed like 4 open threes in a row. I mean, that game was over, but it could have been over if they had dropped a couple 3-pointers that just were open good looks and they missed them. I mean, the score is almost not as, it doesn't tell the whole story of that game.
Right.
I mean, like Barkley said, he goes, the first part of the game, the Celtics come down and they jack up like 12 straight threes. Because that's a team that doesn't want to drive. That's a team that doesn't have the motivation to go do what it takes.
And
usually
how about
game 3s are a dogfight?
How about pouring salt in the wound when Magic Johnson, the Laker, comes out and says, sorry, Celtics fans, your team quit on you.
Well, he doesn't like that. He doesn't like to see that, though.
No, but Celtics fans don't want to hear that from Magic Johnson.
The Celtics' legacy means something to Magic Johnson.
It does. You're right.
It makes him more important.
I mean,
you're right. Sure. That's right.
Mazzulla's post-game conference had to have been like one of the lows in Celtic history. He's like, I don't know. I've lost the locker room. I don't have any answers.
He's like, look, you just need to fire me.
What?
Maybe you should do it tonight before the next game.
Maybe somebody else should coach game 4.
Let Horford or Marcus Smart coach. It would be a better result.
Oh, God.
What the hell?
Unbelievable.
You look at a deer in a headlight.
I stopped watching that game before halftime. I texted you guys, this is going to be a blowout. I couldn't even watch it anymore.
I turned it off halfway through the third quarter. I was done.
Well, you
yeah, I did. It was way too late for me.
Right.
But I did like your prognostications, like going at a week ago. The review was fun.
Which one? Oh,
your picks.
Yeah. Well,
he picked Miami and Denver.
No.
By the way,
I picked Denver.
Does LA win tonight? Do they get one win?
I think so.
They're going to win tonight.
Yeah, I think that LeBron
maybe.
still has a little dog in him, and he's got enough in him to pull out one win.
Yeah,
I don't think the Celtics do.
No.
I agree.
And they're the best team left in probably in the NBA right now.
But look, I mean, Pope, you're right. I mean, I feel like Jerry does. Like, I would pick Miami over Denver, but you also sort of feel like, well, why couldn't I mean? Why not? Right?
Why not? Why not learn from my mistakes every other round?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. So, all right. Anything else on NBA?
No team that is singing Taylor Swift is going to win an NBA title.
Who's doing that?
Oh yeah,
Miami.
Miami.
Oh no,
they
Miami
did?
was. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
God.
Jimmy Butler was.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you say whatever you want about Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, right.
If you gotta have one guy, you know, not taking a shot, but one guy to lead your team in a quarter of basketball, who's in the NBA right now, it's hard not to take Jimmy Butler.
That's actually Himmy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. All right. Hey, Pope. You got to have very mixed feelings today about a washed up has-been from the Lit Club Live.
I can't wait to hear how he spins
Live
it.
and let die.
How is he going to spin it?
Yeah, well, he is a sponsor of Live, so you know that. I mean,
that's right.
He's been a Live fan all along. We're about to.
He
hear
hates
that.
it.
I
He hates
guarantee
it when I remind him that he's a sponsor. He hates it.
Closet Live fan.
All right,
I
let's get
think
to it, Pope.
you know, and I haven't gone back to hear all of the times we talked about it, but I think my comment on Brooks was that the only reason he did it was because of his injuries, and he was afraid that he would never get it back, and this was his opportunity to cash in. I don't think a healthy Brooks Koepka would have ever gone to Live. I think he cares too much about his legacy, and he is right now, you know, clearly the major guy on tour. I mean, all he does is he wins majors. He's got more majors than tour victories, and I don't think there aren't anybody who can say that. You know, going back to Tiger, Jack, or anybody else. I mean, he's got 5 majors and 4 non-majors, so he comes to play when it matters. I mean, I think this. Other than the fact that we're all blockheads, and I think we'll talk about that later. This was a fun PGA, and I thought it really. I think we talked about this. I thought it really played out more like a U.S. Open than a PGA. Sometimes in PGAs you get, you know, double-digit winning scores, but Oak Hill has historically been a tough course. It was a U.S. Open course first, and so it played every bit like it. And
well, on a day of downpour rain didn't help, right?
But that rough was punishing, and you know, the Donald Ross sculpted mounds on the greens. It was hard for them to get a read on them. But I thought we all probably assumed that Scotty was going to run away with it when he was up going into Saturday, and he's had a couple times in major rounds recently where he stumbles. And third round was it. I mean, he would have won the tournament, but for just a horrific Saturday. And Koepka, you know, initially it looked like he was not even going to be a factor. He was 2 over after the first day, didn't look good. In fact, he had to, you know, kind of come on strong at the end of round 1 just to get where he was. But then he throws out a 66 on Friday, and he's in the mix. And then 66, 67, and you know, the guy he's got ice in his veins. It is a tournament though of 2 bunker shots to me. If Hovland is able to get at least up and down out of the bunker, maybe just get a bogey on 16 instead of a double. I mean, remember, Brooks is only up by 1 going into the 16th hole. We had 3 holes of match play with 1-stroke lead, but then with the double bogey, it was over. And then on that par 3 11th, Brooks hit the ball, and he's just steep into that big face of the bunker, and he's able to get it up. Now, he didn't make the putt, but it could have been easily a double, and he could have left it in the bunker. He could have buried it in the face like Hovland did. So those 2 shots really, you know, made the difference in the tournament. But I don't know where we'll talk about what it really means. I mean, does it legitimize Live now that they have one of their players has won a major? I'm sure it gives them a boost, a little shot in the arm. I'm sure the Shark is running around, you know, high-fiving. But does it change anything as far as the way that?
I think we're ready for a Live versus PGA
and the
President's
Live
Cup style tournament.
I got to tell you, my thought on
PGA is afraid of that.
My thought was, Live is such an afterthought. Nobody cares. Like I just don't think anybody cares. Like, is anybody going to go turn on a Live tournament now because Koepka won? No, nobody knows where to find him. It's not even a story anymore, right?
Right.
The reality is
the PGA fans don't seem to care either.
Nobody cares.
They're back to rooting for Phil and Brooks, and they're fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate because you're only going to see these guys at the majors, right? I mean, all this has done is elevated the majors another notch higher, because it's the only time you're going to see all the best golfers in the world playing against each other.
Milk, what's going on with Dustin Johnson?
Yeah. Well,
He pulled his back
he
out.
hurt his back with Paulina, man.
Yeah.
Paulina.
Can you blame him?
Yeah, I wish I could hurt my back like that.
No, he's not playing well. But I mean, I think, look, the problem for the PGA Tour is when you're not playing a major, it's completely devaluing the regular status weekend tournaments outside of majors, because
They're watered down with talent.
their talent's not there. Look, by the way, it wasn't just Brooks yesterday. I think they had how many in the top 5? 2 in the top 5. Like Bryson was there, right?
Yeah.
He played like shit yesterday.
Yeah, he played like shit, but he still was top 10. I think they
Top
had
10.
like 5 or 6 live players in the top 15 or top 20.
But Milk, I'm going to disagree with you on one thing there, because I hear what you're saying about watering down the other events, but the PGA's designated or elevated events, what they've done with those, I think has counteracted a little bit of what you're saying, because the guys who are the top players on the PGA have to show up to those tournaments. So, like we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but the Heritage in Hilton Head, which I got to go to one of the rounds of, traditionally being right after the Masters, doesn't have anybody exciting playing in it. But this year, everybody was there. Spieth was there. Rahm was there, having just won the Masters. What's his name? The guy who won it at the end of the day. What's the kid's name from England who won it? Fitzpatrick. Yeah. I wanted to say Matthews, but I knew that wasn't right. So anyway, so I think, I hear what you're saying, Milk, about it watering down, but I think that the way the PGA has done these elevated events counteracts that a little bit.
Yeah, I guess, but these guys are they're still top 10. I mean, I don't know. I guess I understand what you're saying. They're these better players, these guys who normally wouldn't play a tournament are now playing them, but you've still got these 10 guys that can compete on any day.
Yeah.
Not there. And it's
it's a shame. That's what it is.
It's a shame.
I think what this highlights is it's a shame that Live exists to dilute a product that we really came to enjoy, which was the PGA Tour.
Right. And by the way, Pope, I disagree. I don't think Koepka gives a shit about PGA. He all he cares about is majors. He always has. So he gets the best of both worlds. He gets his $150 million or whatever he got, and he gets to still play the majors, and then he comes out and wins them.
I don't know.
I mean, look, if you
think that I think Koepka, who's kind of a dick, let's be honest, gives a shit about the PGA Tour.
We all watched Full Swing last year or this year, and you all saw how Koepka was really, he was disappointed, upset, hurt, didn't know about what his future held. And he, kind of looked at Live as an opportunity to take care of his future, cash in. I don't think it had anything to do because he didn't like the PGA Tour. I think it was an out for him, but he was really focused on his injuries, and he didn't know at the time if he was going to be able to make a full comeback.
His knee was really bad.
I just think given he was not the guy to go. I don't think he would have gone. I just don't. I don't think he would have gone to Live, but for the fact that he had injuries and he was worried about his future.
Maybe.
But that being said, look, put it in perspective. He has now got 5 majors, tied with Byron Nelson, Seve, and some others. Since 1990, the majors, you have Tiger with 15, Phil with 6, and Koepka with 5. So clearly, one of the best of our generation of golfers.
And it was a great tournament. I mean, it was fun. I mean, there was every shot mattered right up till the sand trap shot. The bunker shot.
Well, can we talk about that? That had happened. Who had hit the same shot?
Connors
had hit the same shot the day before, or
yes.
Saturday. Well, how do you letting that happen? And is that on the caddy? Because how are you not like, well, Connors yesterday hit the lip, I don't know if he used a different club than Connors did. Maybe he did.
It didn't. I mean,
you got to make
Hovland
sure
should have been
you're
able to. He should have been able to get a 9-iron over that lip. He just.
I mean
missed
that
it.
did
He
not
lifted his
look.
shoulder.
Look, every
getting
bunker is an existential threat to me, but I mean that did not look like that hard of a shot. Maybe it was just the camera angle. Maybe you couldn't get a full grasp of how intimidating that lip was, but it didn't seem like that should have been in play. I didn't think it looked like it should have been in play. I mean, did he just skull it?
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
I mean,
he
that's a
mishit it. He
complete
lifted
choke
his shoulder. He mishit it.
I mean, it's really the only mishit he had too. It just came at a time that was like not just devastating, but it was a mishit in a bunker that then got stuck in I mean, it was like the worst case scenario, just the absolute worst case scenario.
It just goes this weekend goes to reinforce the notion that the majors are must-see TV, and we're gonna have another one in a month. I mean, they come fast. It's awesome.
Yep. All right. Anything else on? I know we're going to come back to the story everyone wants to talk about from the PGA, but we'll get there. Patience, people. But anything else on the tournament? All right. Who wants to punch someone? Milk, I heard you have a little slap.
No, I've got a slap. Does someone else have a real punch?
Well, there was a real punch called in from House, who is traveling right now. We miss you today, buddy. We wish you were here. But I was asked to give a little bit. I mean, once again, we have racism, wielding its ugly head in the soccer world. We know we've talked about the struggles that these teams have in the Premier League, and now this time it's in La Liga, which I'm told is the Spanish league. And I guess you had a guy, basically the bottom line is the racial slurs. There's players in La Liga now who are just saying Spain is the place for the racism now. This is the way it is. There was an incident over the weekend, I guess, and one of the Real Madrid players was the recipient of a number of slurs. But what's the sad part about it is the attitude that all the players have had, saying this is what La Liga is now. This is what the fans are. This is what happens every game. This was not an isolated incident. And that's the reason for the punch. It's not a couple unruly fans. It's that you have a league where racism and slurs are just common, to the point where the players they've just sort of thrown up their hands and said, we have to just live with it. You have no idea how bad it is.
But doesn't this get back to our where we started? There's no Jim Brown willing to defy that situation and stand up and say, this is unacceptable, and we as players won't tolerate it.
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, nobody's walking off.
Have to.
Right, they should be walking off the pitch. Both teams arm in arm, right, saying we're not going to play in front of these crowds, but there's too much money at stake.
Right. To sit there and be like, well, this is it. We just have to deal with it. There's nothing we can do.
Their teammates shouldn't tolerate it.
Right.
They need Roy Kent.
They need Roy Kent. That's right. This is a Roy Kent moment. So, well, that's the punch that I had, and I'm sure that House could probably speak a little more eloquently about it. I mean, the idea that I have to report on soccer is very frustrating to me. It's been a bad day. So much Syracuse fucking praise, and now I got to talk soccer.
Yeah, right. Before we move off of House's favorite sport, let's congratulate one of our favorite listeners, Zeke, for graduating from Tulane this weekend. Good, and getting into law school. Good job, Zeke.
Yeah,
that's
congrats,
right.
Zeke.
Yes. Yeah. Are you also punching him in the face or something?
Who, Zeke? Not yet. Not until we get to the Joe Burrow segment of the show.
I don't know. Can we not punch him for wearing a Jalen Hurts jersey underneath his graduation gown?
That's definitely punch-worthy.
That's definitely punch-worthy.
His take on Joe Burrow in its entirety is punch-worthy.
Yeah. Milk, go ahead, give us your slap. Give us what you had as a slap.
No, look, I think it's time somebody stood up and said something about this. I texted about it yesterday during the golf course. I can't stand talking in the backswing guy anymore. It has.
It's. I love this.
You
are so right.
Point where it's every shot. It's not just the drives. It's every iron. It's every putt. And the worst thing of all is that it's no longer funny. There used to be some fun. I was the first to admit I laughed when I heard mashed potatoes the first time.
Right.
Okay? I was the first person to laugh. It's not even funny anymore. Some of the stupidest. I don't even know what these guys were saying yesterday.
Get a life. Just get a life.
No, they need to kick him out.
They kick them out. Do
unacceptable.
something. There needs to be a rule. I don't care. I'm sure as hell that's a rule in Augusta. I don't hear it there. Right. So somebody figure this out. PGA Tour. To the dorks, fucking losers who do this, I'm punching all of them in the face, slapping, whatever. At the very minimum, if you're going to continue to do it, say something funny. Come up with something original. It's stupid. That's all I got to say.
Did you hear the guy who yelled Omaha, Omaha?
That's kind of funny. Actually.
All right, that's okay.
Milk. What I have to say to you is, you demand.
Right.
In the hole.
In the hole. That's it. You demand.
Okay, Boomer. Let's move on.
Am I getting old or something? What is going on?
You are just
no.
officially...
You are 100% correct. It's
no,
so old.
it's
just so old.
You are
it's
so right and also so old. Yeah.
It's like when Seinfeld, and he's like, "No, as a comedian, I'm offended." It's like, say something funny.
Right.
I think that merits a full punch.
Yes.
I think so too.
Any idiot who yells after a guy hits a ball, some stupid saying.
God, that's got to be so embarrassing when you're next to the person. Like, ugh, cringeworthy.
All right, Milk, give us the lasso.
Oh, well, I felt bad for Pope that he had to cover the PGA Championship and not mention our blockhead friend. Obviously, that was almost as big a story, if not bigger story, a bigger story than Koepka's win. Michael Block, the PGA professional from Mission Viejo, California, who, and I mean, I've been thinking about this. I don't think we can put into perspective what he did this weekend. To literally go out there and the guy hits a bucket of balls a week. I mean, that's like as little as it gets. He doesn't even play a full round. These guys, to go up against the best in the world and not just, look, you can go out there and go head. That guy can probably go head to head with any PGA. Most PGA professional can go head to head in a 1 round game on any golf course and probably come really close, maybe lose by a few strokes or whatever, but go out in those conditions and to basically shoot par for 4 days straight.
Yeah.
It was a 10 cup moment. Like literally it wasn't a movie. It happened.
On steroids.
On steroids. And then you just throw in this ace on 15.
Oh,
that was just an unbelievable shot I've ever seen. Not only was it an ace, it didn't even roll. It
just went right in the hole.
It was a swish.
In the hole.
Swish. I mean, it was like this.
It looked like my only hole in one.
This is really happening. It's really happening. Then
that was gratuitous, Pope. That was gratuitous.
Right. We can edit that out, right?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
He gets to 18. He's got to get. He hits a horrible shot on that we all related to. On it wasn't even that bad. I mean, but he was off the green. Puts himself in a bad situation. He's got to get up and down to get invited back to the PGA Championship next year. Oh my God! And hits a ridiculous. That chip was absurd, by the way.
Almost harder than the hole in one.
Harder than it was.
He had that much landing area.
He had the smallest landing area, perfectly placed, puts him in a position to make a putt that, by the way, is also completely nerve-wracking. He's sitting there and you look around, there's the entire place is packed. And just think about that. He probably knows in his head, I probably have to make this to get top 15 finish. The entire world's watching me. This entire crowd is watching. I mean, I would have gotten up there, putted it off the green.
I mean, he might as well have been putting for a green jacket.
I mean, it was unbelievable. And it goes in and this like slowly goes in, like Tiger style.
Uh-huh.
It goes in. he finishes in the top 15. He's coming back. Then these videos have come out of the Colonial, the Charles Schwab next weekend, calls him after, it says, oh, by the way, you've got a sponsor exemption. We want you to come next week. And then I think he got into the RBC, right?
Yeah, Moose Jaw hooked him up.
He may be the most popular golfer in the country right now.
Paul Miller
is.
puts him up. And
Yeah.
it's just like, I mean, you know, it's one of those like, this is never give up on your dream moment. I mean, to go out there and do what he did. I mean, he beat.
Did you hear that at one point somebody said that one of the you know, the reporters out there on the course looked at Rory, and Rory was like, I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
He's like, and I've seen everything on the golf course.
Right. He couldn't believe it. I mean, other than that cackle when he hit that hole in one.
I mean, Milk, we know you hate Rory, but
Yeah, I know.
I have to say, I think Rory was like smitten with the whole thing. Like, I think he was thoroughly enjoying the whole day.
I mean, how could you not? I mean, you're
Right.
playing with this guy. He's getting aces, which have happened. It's only happened like 20 times, right? In the entire, or since like the 1980. But I mean, look, it's just unbelievable story. And he might go out next weekend and shoot 115.
Right.
He
Right.
is.
But
Yeah.
and he probably will.
He's just going to go out and get hammered in Fort Worth bars and just
Yeah.
he's going to live the life of Riley. He's going to be
I mean-
high-fiving guys.
That guy is like average Joe PGA professional. at any golf
Exactly.
course.
It's
he's-
almost if Golf Channel put together a script and they're like,
Yeah.
think we could sell this? No.
Yeah. He beat John Rahm by 6 strokes over
Right.
4 days.
Oh,
That's
wait, he
good.
gets an ace on 15? No, you can't. That's unrealistic.
That
You
was
can't put
that
in
was
there.
just unreal. Just
Yeah.
unreal.
I mean, it's
And I
crazy.
don't know if you guys remember it, but it was viral. Like, I think it was Thursday. He hit a shank on a par 3,
Right.
a dead shank right, and he got a double bogey, which was pretty amazing considering. But I mean, he hit the ball. Went straight into a tree. It's like one of our shots.
Right. Right.
I mean,
It's-
he's like, what the hell?
Guy doesn't even play. He doesn't play rounds every week. He just goes out and hits a bucket of balls. So unbelievable story. Worthy
Great
of,
story. Great lasso. All right, 30-second. Any buzzer beaters for anyone? No, I
Stars
got
are on the
one.
ropes.
I got one. I got to congratulate the Georgetown Hoyas baseball program for the second year in
Yes.
a row. They made it to the Big East tourney, so they're starting postseason play Wednesday at 2:30 against UConn.
I
dreaded
heard they're
Husky.
dedicating this season to Chris Nace.
Yeah,
Yes, that's what I heard too.
all-star catcher.
All-star catcher who had more shoulder surgeries and plate appearances in his career. All right, anybody got a buzzer beater? Anything else?
Nope.
All right, guys. Real
Nope.
big thanks to Jerry for joining us. That
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah, thanks for
Rooster,
setting that up, Rooster.
Appreciate
Missed you,
it.
House.
Have
Yeah.
a good week.
Missed
See
you,
you,
House.
see you soon, House.
See you soon, House.
See